Hello and welcome to this short tutorial where I'm going to show you how to change the button labels inside of the quiz. Let's go ahead and preview the quiz just so we can see what we'll be talking about in this tutorial. You'll notice inside of the quiz, inside of Unison here, we have our answers, the quiz question, we have our feedback. When we select the different options, the different feedback will appear. Well, those you can change inside of the form, right directly inside of Unison. However, some people may want to change what this button label actually says. Right now it says check answer. As soon as I hit select or check answer, it may say something like submit. So those are button labels that you cannot actually change within the form inside of Unison. Now you can change those, however, you do have to change those inside of Flash. Luckily, Unison does give you the source files, so you can download the source files and you can change that inside of Flash. However, it's still a little bit different than what you may expect, and it may be a little bit hard to find on where to change those labels. It's not actually written out within the code. So the first step is to go ahead and to build a project inside of Unison that you can use as your sample project. And you may want to have different question types because different question types will have different button labels. For now, we're just going to go ahead and stick with one question type. And I chose the multiple choice question. So I set up my project and then I went to deploy the course. And after I did deploy the course, I selected the advanced options section and selected where it said deploy with source files. If I do not deploy with source files, then I will not get the Flash source files that I need in order to make the changes to that button. And then from here, I just click download and then wait for my course to download. Well, luckily I've already downloaded that, so let's go ahead and take a look at this inside of Flash itself. To find the quiz FLA, which is the file that we actually need to change, I'm going to go into my Swifts folder here, and then there it is right there, quiz FLA. I'm going to go ahead and open that up inside of Flash, and so I can make the change. So from here, we're just going to go ahead and wait for Flash to open, and then I'll show you where to make those changes so you can change the button label. Now that we have the quiz FLA up and running, if you're not familiar with the quiz, let me go ahead and just show you how it's actually structured. If I take the playhead wherever it may be at and I just scrub it all the way through here, the different frames, you'll notice the different question types that appear. Each question type of the quiz is on its own frame, including at the very beginning the quiz introduction. So if I need to make changes to this visually, then I would go through each frame and I would update the quiz. I would change around where these different things are located, where the background of the quiz is, how much question or how much of an area does the question have, how much of an area does the feedback have, and then right here you'll see where it says control button. Well, the control button is where it will say your check answer. Well, the first thing you'll notice is if I come back into Unison and I preview this course, let's go back into build and modify the course and preview this course. You'll notice that this button is actually blue. Well, inside of Flash, it's not blue. The first thing that it does is it actually gets its color from the ActionScript layer on this top layer. If I go to Window and then go to my Actions layer, you'll notice this is where I actually get the color for the button color, and then you just enter in the hex value right there, and that's where the color comes from. So if you want to change the color, that's where you would do it. However, if I try to search for the label, if I search in quiz mc.as, the ActionScript file, I'm not going to find the label. The only place that you can actually change the label of the buttons, whether you're trying to change it to a different word or a different language, is by selecting where it says multiple choice interaction or whatever question you're on. There's this little box on the left hand side. You actually have to select on one of those and then come over to the right hand side where it says component inspector. And if you select on the component inspector in your properties panel, now it will take you to the component inspector where you can go through, you can see different bindings, schema. It doesn't really give me a lot of information to begin with. I don't want to change anything here. What I do want to do is come into the options section. By selecting the options section, this is where I can see what first of all, the feedback is going to be. So I can see initial feedback, evaluation feedback, correct feedback, incorrect feedback, and try again feedback. That's what the initial value evaluation is going to be. you can change that to whatever language or whatever content or whatever phrase you want inside of Unison. That, I mean, you don't really have to do anything here. However, if I come to assets, this is where I get my button labels. So you'll notice where it says control button labels, it has check answers, submit, next question, and reset. So this is where I can change the language of it to whatever language I want. So I can change submit, or I can change, instead of submit, let's just say both of them be check answer. You just type that here. And then once you're done with that, you can go ahead and exit out of it and hit Control Enter. If I hit Control Enter, now every time I use this quiz.swf, which is what it produces, then it will actually have the new phrasing instead of the submit, like I just changed. The only thing that you must remember is that only is changed this for this question alone. The multiple selection question is the one that I'm on. So that means I have to go through each one of these frames and come into the assets label and change each one of those into the new language or the new phrase. And you only have to do that on the questions that you actually want to change. So it's a little bit of work there, but once you've done that, you hit Control Enter and upload that back to Unison, whether it be within your custom style or within that project. And then as soon as you've done that, now you're ready to go.